Right then, good evening everyone. Here's me the second time tonight. Am I on full screen or still on gallery view?
Full screen.
Full screen?
You are spotlighted.
Okay. Right, so what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to do a platter or dish, probably more of a dish with the thickness of the piece of wood. It's a piece of sycamore, which is it'll end up around about 13 inches in diameter by around about 2.5 inches deep. I'm going to turn a fairly basic bottom half of this, but the top is going to be textured and coloured using my Arbitech mini carver and some colours as well. So I'll just change camera. Oh, wrong camera. There we go. So here we have it. A bit of it's been outside a wee while, so there's a bit of discoloration there. That doesn't really matter because that'll get turned away. Using my Robert Sorby tungsten cobalt coating, I think it is. This is the 3/8 bowl gouge that I tend to use every day. 3/8 UK is measured across the flute. Therefore, in the States, it'll be a 1/2 inch because that's measured across the bar. I think I've got that the right way around. If I haven't, I'm sure somebody will correct me. If you do have any questions, I don't mind if you ask questions. If you want to put them in the chat and go through Dane, that's all well as well. I'm not going to bother rounding this off. That'll come in the process of me turning the bottom. I'm turning it around about just over 700 revs per minute, and I'm going to start off doing pull cuts. So basically what I do, I get the bevel on, turn the bevel round until it starts cutting, and then come into the cut. I'm going to move that chuck key off there because it's about to fall off. So all I'm doing at the moment is just removing a fair amount of wood. Now I'm going to go into the center using a push cut just to get this leveled up so I can get the mortise in there. I do tend to use a mortise rather than a tenon. Now I'm just going to use a pair of dividers just to get the, for some reason I keep on getting a message coming up to cancel the meeting. Use a pair of dividers to get the size for the tenon. So whenever you're doing this, you only use the left-hand side to go in, never the right-hand side, and you try and meet up the 2 points. and that is just about exact there. So I'll get that marked, and then I'm going to use my 1/4 inch bull gouge just to take out the tenon, sorry, the mortise. And then I'm going to go in from the other side. I think I just need a little bit more depth in there. You don't really need a hell of a lot of depth as long as you get the size right. And what I'll do, once I flip this around, I'll explain the reasoning behind that. I'm just going to use my skew chisel just to put in the dovetail. And then I can carry on shaping the bowl. So we're going to have a foot on this, which will start around about there, I think. And I'm using a push cut now. Just starting to bring it round to get the shape. Now I'm going to move my tool rest. And come around, still defining the shape on it. Now the cuts still look a little bit rough at the moment, but they will get cleaned up once I do the final cut. Still got a couple of flat spots that I need to get rid of. A little bit to take off the top here, but that's all the flat spots gone. Just move me to the rest a little bit more, just to get rid of that final piece. That's that done. But what I'll do now is just come in with a final cut. And what I'm going to try and do is get my tool rest in a position where I can do the final cut, hopefully in one go from start to finish. There's got a bit of nice figuring in here, bit of inclusion there, but that's all part of the wood. So I'm going to try and do this in one cut if I can. And what I'm looking for is a very, very fine cut. Try and take your time when you do this. There's no need to rush the final cut. Now I am going to get a bit of chattering where those inclusions are, which I don't know if you can hear, but I can certainly feel them there. Now coming up to the final cut, up the side of the bowl, I am going to be reaching over the tool rest a fair bit. Just coming to the end of the cut now, and make sure you go right past the edge so you do get the clean cut all the way. And that's it, gone right over. Very nice fine shavings that have come out of that. And this, the bottom is now ready for sanding. Now I do use power sanding when I'm sanding, always have done. It's basically the way I was taught by a guy called Jamie Walwyn, who used to be part owner of Craft Supplies in the UK. So I'm going to just quickly go over this with 80 grit. It won't be doing a hell of a lot of sanding with 80 grit. Sanding just came off that one, not to worry. I'll just move straight on to 120. And then just quickly go over that with 240. And that's the sanding complete. So we've got a nice sanded finish on there, ready to take a finish. I'll just get all the dust a brush off on that. You can clean this with methylated spirits or denatured alcohol. And now what I'm just going to use, a spray-on cellulose sanding sealer. Doesn't matter where it comes from, they're pretty much all the same. I'm just going to wipe off any excess on there. And now what I'm going to use is an abrasive paste. Again, it doesn't matter which abrasive paste you use. People tend to use the one that they are familiar with or the one that they prefer, but whichever one. Now, there's no need, if you're using an abrasive paste, there is no need to knock back the sand and sealer, because this is an abrasive paste and this will knock back any excess sand and sealer that you've got on there. Make sure you get a nice coating on there. Remember to put the lid back on. Then I tend to turn the lid down to around about 250 to start the process of working the abrasive paste in. And I'm using the same piece of paper that I applied the abrasive paste with and just working it in. You're as well spending 2 or 3 minutes with this part of the process just to make sure that it gets worked in really well. The reason that I use sand and sealer is that if I was just to go straight on with the abrasive paste, the oil that's in the abrasive paste tends to go straight into the wood. So it doesn't tend to do the job that it's supposed to do. The way around that is that if you forget to...
Oh,
We lost him.
he dropped off. Oh no. Well, hopefully he comes back in.
He may not know. Somebody should give him a call or something.
Yeah, if somebody's got his got a chat line for him over there, shoot him a quick message. I guess I can do it here. Get him on Messenger. I don't know if he'll have Messenger up or not. There he is. All right, he's back on. Now let's get him highlighted. There he is.
So,
now we got
yes.
Wayne.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. For some reason, I got kicked out.
No worries.
Right, so I was going through the process of doing the abrasive paste. I think I was saying that if you forget to use sand and sealer, all you need to do is put a second coat of the abrasive paste on, and that'll sort any problems out. So I've worked that in. Now I'm going to turn the speed up, get a clean piece of paper, just to remove any of the excess. And the way to use the abrasive paste is to keep on working it in until your piece of paper comes away clean. Probably another go at that, and that'll come away clean. Yep, that's sorted. Now to put a final finish on, and I'm going to use microcrystalline wax as a final finish. I'm just going to put it on at the same speed and then start working it in. The best way to do this, I'm doing a demo now, but the best way to do this is apply the microcrystalline wax or any type of wax that you're going to use, apply it, and then leave it for about 15, 20 minutes for anything extra that's in there to evaporate away. and then you'll get a really nice shine. But that's the outside done. All nicely finished. Some really nice grain in this sycamore. So what I'll do now, I'll just flip it around. Oh, I was going to explain about the chuck jaws. Right, the chuck jaws, when the jaws are made, they're actually machined in one piece. And then they're cut into four. So you're going to have some kerf space where they're being cut in. So if you have the chuck jaws completely closed, you're not getting a full circle around the outside, and you're not getting a full circle on the inside either. They need to be opened about 2 mil before you get the full circle. And that's the ideal point for actually holding in a mortise or holding on the tenon. If you've got them open too far, like that, you're only going to be holding the piece of wood on these 4 points, which is not ideal. You don't get a good hold when you're doing that. So you need to have it, you need to have the jaws set correctly. And you don't really need, once you've got the jaws set correctly, you don't really need to have a very deep mortise. The mortise I've got on there is about half the depth of the actual jaws themselves. And you never want to go deeper than the depth of the jaws. Otherwise, your piece won't seat properly. Now, as you can see in the top here, basically what I've done, I've drilled a hole in here with a very cheap Chinese forstner bit, which is a 70mm forstner bit, which fits into my jaws. And when I'm doing platters and things like this, this is how I tend to hold the top for when I'm turning the bottom. It's very, very secure, especially on a platter type thing. If I was to be doing a deep bowl, I would maybe use this, but I'd also have the tailstock up as support. Just make sure everything's missing. That's catching a wee bit there, so I'll move that tool rest. And all I'm going to do with the top, I'm just 700, yeah, about 700. I'm just going to have the top nice and flat. So I've got a little bit to take off here. And what I'm doing, I'm getting the bevel of the gouge so it's pointing straight across. There we go. Still got just a little bit here that I need to get rid of. There we go. So I'll get that sanded up, because this is where we're going to start doing the texturing and the colouring. Again, I'm going to quickly just go over this with 80. I'll sand this top to 400 rather than 240. I always tend to go to 400 or even above if I'm doing any sort of colouring. That doesn't want to stay on there. Do a different one. A little bit of tear out. That's better. That was 120. 1 to 240. And then on to 400. Right, I've got a wee bit tear out here, which I could sort. This is a demo piece. What I'll probably do with this after I'm finished, this will get remounted and refinished with something a little bit different. I'm going to go back to the sand and sealer. Whenever I'm using lacquer, coloured lacquer, paint, or anything like that, I always tend to use a sand and sealer as sort of a primer coat. So again, whenever you're using a rattle can, whether it's sand and sealer or paint, do it the way they do in car booths if they're using a rattle can. Start at the outside of the piece, go across and finish at the outside of the piece. That way you get an even coating all the way throughout. I'm going to turn the lid off. I'm going to wipe off any excess. So the sand and seal. Now I'm not using an abrasive paste on this now, so I am going to knock this back using a piece of web racks, and this is around about 1000 grit. This is, so this will actually take off any excess of the sand and sealer. Let's have a look and see what that's like. Yep, that's not bad. And now we come to the, where is it? I'm using a black gloss lacquer on this, and it is fairly quick drying. And the people do say the only reason you use colour is to cover up your mistakes. Now, that is totally wrong, because if you're using any sort of colour, it'll highlight the mistakes. And you'll see that on this piece. There's a little bit of tear out there. There's some tear out over here and on the edge here, and also here as well. And you will actually see where I put the gloss lacquer on, the black gloss lacquer on, you will actually see that it does highlight the mistakes. And what I'll do is turn that 90 degrees and then put another quick coat on there as well, just to make sure everything is covered. Anything I've missed, I'll have a look at. Little bit up here, and that's really where the tear out is. A little bit there as well, and that's all good to go on that one. Now my hot air gun is actually sitting down on the ground, so I'm going to use a hot air gun to dry this. Now whenever you're using a hot air gun to dry any lacquer or paint or anything like that, the first thing to remember is when you switch it on, don't point it at the piece, just in case there's any dust or anything in there. Right, I think I've cleared that. So I'm going to turn this down to, I think that's around about 150. And I've got the gun around about 18 inches away from the piece, and I've got it on its first setting. Because what you don't want to happen is to overheat the lacquer so it starts to bubble up. I'll have a look at that. Now with this type of piece, this is going to get textured and coloured, and the middle of the bowl is going to be taken out. So if you're feeling this type of piece for how dry it is, check in the centre. And that actually feels touch dry to me. So now comes the fun part.
And he dropped off. Well, let's hope that he comes back on here shortly.
He's back.
Coming in.
Hit the admit button. Yeah.
Coming back, Dean. You just let him in.
All right, we got you again, Wayne. But you're muted.
Mute. Is that better?
Now we got you.
Right, okay. So what I'm using tonight is the Arbitech mini carver. This is the long neck carver. You don't have to use this. You can use the Proxon long neck carver. There is another one, but I can't remember the name of it. I'm not using an Arbitech blade. I'm using a Manpower blade. Now in the States, you can buy these from King Arthur Tools. In the UK, I think I got mine from Amazon, and it's 3 cupped carbide cutters on here, which are adjustable. There is a tool to adjust them round and replace them and everything. It is a fierce beast. Don't get me wrong, this is a fierce beast. The motor in this is 700 watt. On the Proxon long neck driver, I think it's 100 watt. So there's a hell of a lot of power in this. And this carver carves really deep when you're using it as a carver, but it is also very delicate. So what I do, I set up the tool rest so I can actually get, that's a bit far away. I set up the tool rest so I can get the neck of the carver over the tool rest and come up to the piece. Now doing this type of work, and I'm going to have the lathe running at around about 700. Mark Beckett and I had a bit of an experiment when I was down at his place the other week. And we found, certainly on doing a vase, 700 was a good speed. Now, the patterns you can make with this are just about infinite. because if you have the tool above center, you're going to get a different pattern to if it's on center. If you have the tool over at a different angle, you're going to get a different pattern as well. The same as if you have the tool underneath center. So all of these things you can take into consideration and try and see what type of pattern that you want to get. And what you want to do is when the lathe is running and the tool is running, just introduce the tool just so it starts cutting and then bring it nice and gently towards the outside. So let's give it a go and see what we get. Now, my Arbitech, it's variable speed and goes up to 6. I've got this running on 3. It's still running quite fast. So introduce it, like I said, nice and gentle. I'm changing angle. There you go, guys. What do you reckon?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well,
That is too
Looks
cool.
great, Wayne.
Thanks, Ruby. Now, what Mark and I find, now I've been doing this type of work for quite a few years now. And what I have found is that if you do it on bare wood, it doesn't really matter what wood you do it on, but you can get a lot of fuzzies going on. Once you put the lacquer on, the fuzzies tend to cut down. And you can get rid of them just by using, where'd I put it? Oh, there it is. Just by using the web brax pad. It shouldn't take very much of the lacquer, if any, off.
You did that so fast. Can you shave it off and do it again?
Oh, yeah. Do you want me to shave it off and do it again?
What's the crowd think?
I like
I'd
it
love
like it is.
It again. Can you change?
No. Go get another piece. Get another piece of this one, Wayne.
No, but
You can do
Okay.
another one in 20
I'd
minutes.
love to see it with your other camera so we can see from above how close you are to the piece.
Right. Okay. Let's have a look. Right. What I'll do, right, is everybody happy with this pattern?
Well, yeah,
Yes.
Sure.
great.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Beautiful.
what I'll do, I'll just put the tool rest there. Now, the mini carver, it has got this area here, which actually just fits over the tool rest. Okay. So I've got the tool rest inch tape. I've got the tool rest 2 inches, near enough 2 inches away from the piece. So I can actually slot that across. And what I can do, I can go in horizontal. I can go in at an angle. I can actually heighten the tool rest so I am way above center. And that gives a totally different pattern again. Okay, depending on what angle you've got it at. I can take the tool rest now. My tool rest won't go down very, very low, but I should be able to get it. If I angle this right over, I can get that below center, which will give a totally different pattern again, depending on what the angle is. So like I said, the patterns you can get are just about infinite.
Pretty slick.
Right,
Yeah.
now this area here, this is where the bowl is going to be taken out. I'm just going to do a very small bowl in this because it's all about the pattern and the color. Now, I'm going to use an airbrush now. I'm going to use green and blue. And I'm using, they are water-based, they're from Hampshire Sheen. But the thing is, with the water-based ones, they don't stick or they don't penetrate through lacquer or through sand and sealer. Now, the good thing about using the carver is that it's gone straight through the lacquer, it's gone straight through the sand and sealer, and it's gone right into the wood. So what I'll do, I'm going to start off with green. I'm going to turn the lathe right down again to around about 150. And I'm going to start from the center and go about halfway out. Now, whenever I'm using an airbrush, I always go from the center towards the outside, over in this direction. This is because whenever I get to the edge over here with whatever color I'm using, it's going right off the edge and it's not covering, it's not hitting anything underneath the edge. Whereas if I was to start from here and go towards the center, I might get some overspill. So that's the reason that I do it like this. So we're just going to start. Is that me getting kicked out again?
No, you're good.
Okay. Now I'm just going to use the green there. Then I'm going to swap over. Now what I've got with my airbrushes is a quick change connector, which at the moment isn't working, but I'll sort that. That's it. And now I'm going to use blue from the center towards the outside. And there we have the green and the blue. Is that standing out? Look, oh yeah, it looks okay.
Yep.
Now, seeing as how these are water-based, and like I said, they don't soak in to the lacquer or sand and sealer, there's always going to be some excess on the lacquer. So you can actually wipe this off and it does actually blend in some of the color with each other. And it dries very, very fast as well. Oh, got a little bit of a fuzzy there. See if I can get rid of that. Speed up. Yep, that's better. So what I'm going to use now is the, oh, that's black, don't want that one. Is a clear gloss lacquer. And this, I could use sand and sealer. Sand and sealer will seal everything, but the gloss lacquer is a finish anyway. So I'm going to use the gloss lacquer. And again, just going from side to side, very thin coats when you're using lacquer. You don't want to put thick coats on because it can cloud up or bloom as it's called, and it can run. So very thin coats. And I'm just putting the one on initially. Get the hot air gun again. Turn the speed down. Right, is that messing with everybody's eyes?
No, not at all.
Yep, that's touch dry. You can get around about 4 or 5 coats of lacquer on if you want, and then give it a knock back with the likes of a microfine abrasive paste, which will, and then finish it off with a wax if you want to. But all I'm going to do now is just clean out the bowl, and it's going to be a very small bowl. I'm just taking this center part out here because I want to leave this pattern. Obviously, this type of bowl or dish or platter, whatever you want to call it, is purely decorative. going in around about there. Oh, tool rest not tight properly. In fact, I forgot to adjust my tool rest back up to its proper height. That's better. Now, the other thing that you can do with this, if you want, and it sometimes works to your advantage, is that you can. I'm going to use my small bowl gouge for doing this, and all I'm going to do is actually frame this with natural wood. I'm going to frame it there, and I'm going to frame it in the center as well. That gouge is getting a little bit blunt. To tell you the truth, that one's not much better. Just give me a minute and I'll just give this gouge a quick sharpen. That's better.
Lost him again.
Dane's out of the room too.
Yeah, it looks like Wayne just fell off again. I don't know why that's happening, but that's what happened.
Yeah, he'll be back.
Bye-bye. It's a metric conversion.
That's it.
Taking a little longer to come back in this time.
I don't
Yeah, he
see
may not
him.
realize it.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one that has internet problems.
Oh, tell me about it.
If we all want to be honest, we all have that problem.
Right?
And I've
Yeah,
got
from time to
Spectrum and they
time.
claim to be the best, and yet I always seem to have problems.
Yeah, I think there's
Well,
something
maybe-
wrong
may-
with the fiber
he
optic
may-
over in England because I was having issues when I was on the UK
he
meeting
is.
today.
Yeah,
They have
let him
6
in, let him in.
Jim, don't mess.
The more people that are online, the more the problem.
We got you in, Wayne. We just need video and microphone. There we go.
are. Bloody Zoom updated there. Don't know what's going on tonight. Nearly finished anyway. Right, I'm just going to finish that off with my traditional grind. Right, now I'm not going to bother sanding the bowl on this. This will get redone for getting finished off properly and going into a shop. But I will just take the time just to take a bit of web racks over here, just to take those fuzzies off from when I formed the frame. Right, and then I'll change camera and show you the piece. And there it is, guys.
Fantastic.
Well done.
That's
Very
cool.
nice.
That is very nice. I like it.
Yes,
Very nice.
beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Well done,
Yeah.
Wayne.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Very
Great
nice,
job.
Wayne.
Very, very enjoyable, Wayne. Very enjoyable.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, I
Very
enjoyed
enjoyable.
enjoyed the
Well
demo.
done, Wayne.
So if anybody has any questions or comments, now's the time. The floor is open for Wayne to answer them.
Great demo, Wayne.
Cheers. Thank you.
No questions? That's amazing. That means Wayne was so thorough.
Yep.
Real, hey, he's
Everybody's speechless.
Well,
We're still
Wayne, am I
we're
on?
still
Hey,
we're still
Wayne,
agog
it
at the golden tools. It's the golden tools that's done it.
Oh,
Wayne?
right, the Sorby tools.
it was
Yeah.
that good. It really was.
Yeah,
Right.
these are
Got a
Robert
question,
Sorby
Wayne.
tools, and these are the what did I say they were?
Titanium nitride.
Or nitrate.
Titanium nitrite coating on them. So they're actually done down the flute as well. So you still have the titanium coating actually on the cutting edge. So they do these in the bowl gouge of various sizes. They do them in the spindle gouges. Obviously, they can't do them on a skew because that would defeat the purpose. Because you'd grind all the titanium away.
Right.
But they do tend to last. The edges tend to last unless you're using a super hard high-speed steel, the likes of the Doug Thompson tools. These tend to last about the edge tends to last about 3 times longer than the than like M2 M4 high-speed steel.
So Wayne, what's your sealing process for the inside of the bowl?
Right, the inside of the bowl, that will be sand and sealer, abrasive paste, and wax for the inside of the bowl.
Can you hold the bowl up again?
Yeah,
I
certainly.
want to get a picture of it.
Do you want me on full screen?
Yeah, we
It
got
is.
you on full screen.
Right. There I am. There you go. I'll try to get it without any glare on there, if I can.
Beautiful.
There you go.
That's
That should be
gorgeous.
okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Just gorgeous.
Very nice.
Like I say, all I did to change the pattern was actually change the angle of the cutter and the speed I was coming out at. And I always go from the inside towards the outside.